This is the end of fiat as we know it. I don't want to call for super cycles, but I still think $250,000 to $1 million per Bitcoin this bull cycle is well within the cards. I think the way gold's performing, we could see a $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 Bitcoin in 2026, no problem. I mean, we could hit 200K before the year's over. I think the level of printing, currency debasement, and reindustrializing, I mean, rolling out of this fiat regime that we've created, shutting it down, we've never seen anything as scarce as Bitcoin.
Bitcoin's volatile price action is trying to tell us something important. It's reacting to the collapse of a global financial system that has dominated for decades. We're witnessing a power shift that threatens the very foundation of fiat money, driven by an escalating trade war between the United States and China. The reality is becoming undeniable. China controls the world's production of rare earth minerals. These materials are essential for everything from electric vehicles and smartphones to advanced military equipment such as F-35 jets and Tomahawk missiles. By restricting exports, China has revealed America's fundamental weakness. The U.S. can no longer produce what it needs to maintain its economic or military dominance. This is why Bitcoin matters now more than ever. According to Jack Mallers, we are witnessing the end of fiat as we know it. The United States has lost its leverage across every front: military, industrial, and economic. The only solution Washington can devise is a massive, government-driven reindustrialization that will require unprecedented money printing. What we're seeing isn't just another market cycle, but the complete unwinding of a monetary system that has stood for half a century. Let's take you back to Jack Mallers' sharp market analysis for more insight. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and enable notifications for more in-depth content. Thanks for joining us again. Enjoy the rest of the video.
All right, so a lot of what we've been talking about on the show, recent months, recent weeks, the trade war at large has centered around the U.S. versus China. And really, it is this hyper-financialized world reserve currency issuer that has hollowed out its industrial base, that doesn't produce anything for themselves anymore. Yes, I'm talking about the United States of America. Hyper financialized on both coasts. You've got West Coast that builds all the technology in Silicon Valley. They've hyper financialized in massive concentrations of wealth through technology. And then you've got the East Coast hyper financialization, which is Wall Street. Hyper financializing, building financial products, growing our financial markets. The middle of America is dead. It's shot. It's rot. It's the Rust Belt. It's gone old. All of those jobs are in China. Now, China is the opposite. The yuan is always weak. Okay. China's economy is the furthest thing from something that you could claim to be robust necessarily. They endure a lot of pain over there, but they are the world's factory. China produces everything for everyone, including the United States. And so you kind of have these two massive states colliding and crashing over a trade war. The U.S., their desire is to persist. The Pax Americana empire, they want to remain the world reserve currency issuer. They want everyone to bow down and buy their debt and finance the lifestyle of the rich and famous American. And China represents everyone else, more or less. It says that we're over this whole deal of having to buy your debt, having to get taxed via inflation, having to basically subsidize American exceptionalism. And that is really the trade war. And the middle of the trade war is about rare earths. So first of all, I found this diagram helpful. This is created by the United States of America themselves. And it goes to show how involved Chinese suppliers are in our military. Okay. So if you look at the far right, you can see Chinese supplier count. And in the far left, you can see the system. So we've got Tomahawks, JSSMs. You can see the contractor, the subcontractor. The point is Chinese suppliers in U.S. air-launched armament supply chains. This was as soon as 2 years ago. They're in everything. And so one of the biggest pieces of friction is that China makes everything for the United States. They make all of our weapons, all of our technology, your iPhone, your desk, your computer, your clothes, your cars, everything. And not the high level. If you drive a Tesla, Elon Musk technically made that. But who made the chip inside the Tesla? China did, okay? So this graphic goes to show just how reliant we are down to our military. Because one thing, and we'll get into it, that the United States has not been shy about is that if people disagree with the United States, they have no problem dropping a bomb on your head. As an American, I am not proud of the fact that that has been part of our strategy over the last, I was going to say decade, couple decades, maybe the last century. But listen, I'm not left, I'm not right, I'm not up, I'm not down, I'm orange, I'm Bitcoiner, I'm here to tell you the truth. The U.S. we have gone so far down the fiat, we are such fiat maximalists, us, the United States. No proof of work, no low time preference. We don't do anything, sit on our butt for the last 40 years and print money and hyper financialize to trick and confuse people with all these levered derivative bond market bullshit products to continue to kick the can down the road. One day, the chickens come home to roost. Today is that day, guys. We don't have the military leverage. We don't have the industrial leverage. We don't have the negotiating leverage. We're going to have to print a bunch of money, unwind from being the world reserve currency, and get back to proof of work and living from the work that we do for ourselves. This is the end of fiat as we know it. The end of fiat as we know it. And the beginning of something different. Now, us Bitcoiners think Bitcoin's going to be a part of that. We'll see. We have to reindustrialize. The post $71 is over. Fiat as we know it is over. We're going back to neutral reserve assets. We have to go back to proof of work. We have to start making our own stuff again. None of this is a debate. All of this is facts. We're living through it today. The one point I want to make to you guys is we can't manipulate time, and how the hell are we going to pay for it? Because as Bitcoiners, this is what really matters to us. Not even as Bitcoiners, that. As humans. Governments inflating our time and energy away, our hard work. Because guys, again, money is your time and energy in an abstracted form. The money that you have is a reflection of you, your contributions to those around you. Right? When you get up and you go to work, listen, you don't go to the beach every day. You don't lay around and drink milkshakes. You don't just lounge by the pool. Everyone listening to this gets up and does shit for those around them, creates value, produces something to the market. And in return for that, you get money. And so therefore, money is your time and energy in an abstracted form. In a perfect world, the money that you've earned is a direct reflection of how valuable you've contributed to society. And so for someone to be able to debase the money means by proxy, they're debasing you. It is the most disrespectful act, I think, in human history, fiat, because you are looking another man in the eyes and devaluing them. Because by devaluing the money, you are by proxy devaluing them. The commute they had to take to work, the long hours they put in, the stress they endured, the sacrifice. They're not with their family. They're not with their friends. They're not on the beach. They are busting their ass to contribute value to those around them, contributing real time and real energy. And for a government to say, you, we value you and your integrity and your contributions at zero. That's what we care about. So how bad is it? How much money are they going to print? And how long is this going to take? That's the point I want to make. Okay? Because look, my dad told me this, guys. This is one of my favorite quotes about not being able to print time. It takes 8. One day he looked over to me and he said, you know, the United States government has the false idea that they can print anything when they can only print money. They can't print time. They can't print energy. He said someone has to tell them that it takes 18 years to make an 18-year-old, you know?
The trade war isn't a policy fight anymore. It's an economic war zone. The US built its empire on control, but China now manufactures the gears that make that empire run. From iPhone chips to missile guidance systems, Chinese fingerprints are on everything. When Beijing restricted rare earth exports, it wasn't negotiation, it was domination. America can't flex military or monetary muscle when the other side builds the weapons and mines the materials. One US strategist warned, this isn't competition, It's checkmate, and the dollar just lost its bodyguard. The so-called reindustrialization dream is a fantasy soaked in debt. The Rust Belt is rusting for a reason. Wall Street gamed the system while Silicon Valley worshipped data gods. Now, America's factories are ghosts, and its weapons stockpiles are thin. Rebuilding? Decades away. The only quick fix is printing money, oceans of it, to fund an industrial resurrection that will bury the dollar deeper. Jack Mallers calls Bitcoin the only thing that doesn't lie the last honest asset in a world where everything else is manipulated, manufactured, and melting.
It's going to take years, ladies and gentlemen, decades to reindustrialize this country. And so the United States has a choice they have to make. The question is, how long is this going to take, and how much money are they going to have to print to do it? The end is clear. Bitcoin and gold are going to go up so much, people are going to be shocked. In fact, it gets so dangerous to talk about super cycle this, super cycle that, this cycle's different, because then you always go back and you look like an idiot. But I'm this close to calling for a super cycle. I don't know if I've ever been more bullish. I don't think this bull run is going to end until Trump is out of office. The amount of money these guys are going to have to print for a sustained period of time, the fiat as we know it is over, guys. We're talking about years worth of reindustrializing, printing money. Who's paying for all this stuff? The US government is broke. We run twin deficits. We don't have cash flow to pay for things. Who is going to finance what China? By the way, it took China 40, not 14, 40 years to be the superpower they are today. It's going to cost way more than anyone thinks. Bitcoin and gold are going to go up way more than anyone thinks. Round up to the upside to be safe. Okay. And now to the money printing. How are we financing this? So Bitcoin had it's been a little choppy. It's had a little oopsie. As I said in the beginning of the show, it's about 12 months or 12% from its all-time high 2 weeks ago. And everyone online, like the sentiment is so bad. Everyone's freaking out thinking, the bull market's over. I can't be more bullish. I literally think we have years of money printing, reindustrializing, and unwinding from the fiat regime that we know as, and Bitcoin's going to be in an open competition against gold to be the de facto money for humanity. I am bullish as kid show. So I wanted to put out this tweet really to calm everyone down. I said, remember, Bitcoin is the most sensitive to liquidity. It moves first. It's a truth machine. Bitcoin on a Friday night tanking is telling us something. It's telling us there's something broken in the financial system. Liquidity is off. The fiat system is failing. And you want Bitcoin to be the most sensitive to liquidity because we want it to be the best expression of currency debasement. We want it to be the best performer on the other side of the money printer. When you're the most sensitive to liquidity, it goes both ways. Yes, you react on a Friday night when the stock market can't because it's closed and when gold doesn't because it's a rock. But that means if they're going to print a ton of money, and this is the end of fiat as we know it, Bitcoin's going to be the best performer. So I said, yields are puking, spreads blowing out, the banks are stressed, and I gave some images and some data to support that. But Bitcoin is working because it smells trouble. When they're forced to print, and this whole show is about the fact that they are, it'll move first again and outperform everything. Now, Bitcoin is back above 110. Why is that? In order to combat China, the United States will end up finding itself being internet maximalists, being Bitcoin maximalists, right? We've talked about the China disrupted red America. So the middle of America that wants their construction job, only has a high school degree, doesn't want to be college educated and be a lawyer and all this stuff. Their jobs are in China. Their beef is with China. And the internet and Bitcoin and AI is disrupting blue America. Everyone that's got college debt and they're a lawyer, they're now, or an engineer or an accountant or whatever, blue America, white collar, they're now getting disrupted by AI. And so blue America beefs with the internet, with Bitcoin. People like Elizabeth Warren, Jamie Dimon, they hate me, right? I've outperformed Wall Street by just sitting in my closet doing nothing. And then everyone in red America hates China. And so what we're finding is red America is actually becoming Bitcoin maximalists. And I really think that the future of this country and the future of East versus West is China versus the internet. if that makes any sense. I really think that that's where we're going. And so I had some thoughts because everyone was asking me, well, what's your take on gold? Should I buy gold? For the record? And everyone's like, Jack's supporting gold. I thought I'd never see this day. I own 0 gold. Okay. I own 0 gold. I think that this is going to come down to, we have to build a distributed, resilient system. Like, this is what Balaji said. This is from Balaji. Unbelievable quote. He wrote, in other words, ideas are upstream of men. Code is upstream of drones. Private property is private keys, and the keyboard may yet prove on par with the sword. The creation of alternative societies is one model for how the internet may eventually balance out China. I really think that this is where we're going. And I think Bitcoin's going to outperform gold massively. And I think the West is going to end up relying on Bitcoin because it embodies American ideals. Bitcoin is the most American thing we have. Freedom of speech, property rights, freedom of coming and going, expressing, opining, distributed, secure. And I think that's the new frontier that the battles will be fought.
For Maller, this forced reindustrialization means one thing: sustained, massive currency debasement. The U.S. government faces twin deficits with no available cash to fund this enormous undertaking. Printing money becomes the only option, effectively stealing the time and energy of every working citizen through relentless inflation. Money represents human effort and achievement, making this debasement one of the most disrespectful acts in modern history. The United States cannot simply print its way to prosperity because it cannot print time. Rebuilding industry, retraining workers, and dismantling bureaucratic barriers are generational tasks. This process will take longer, cost more, and expose the political lies of quick economic recovery. This is precisely why Bitcoin stands apart. Its volatility isn't a weakness, it's sensitivity. As the asset most reactive to global liquidity, Bitcoin acts like a financial seismograph, detecting stress before the mainstream feels it. When liquidity tightens, Bitcoin bleeds first. But when the money printers roar back to life, as they inevitably must, Bitcoin will surge ahead, outpacing every traditional asset. We are witnessing the early stages of a massive global reset. The fiat system, dominant since 1971, is collapsing under its own contradictions. Governments will keep printing, citizens will keep losing, and the search for a harder, incorruptible store of value has already begun. Maller believes the bull run still has years to go, fueled by the flood of printed money that will distort markets longer than anyone expects. The fiat age is dying, and Bitcoin's true moment is finally here. When the dust settles from the greatest monetary reset of our lifetime, the real question will be, did you prepare for it? Or will you be left holding worthless paper as the world moves on to sounder money? Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.